We always have to raise our voices. Maybe sometime people will think annoying, but even though I'm sorry, but I still have to keep going on because maybe somebody will find this interesting and valuable. For those people, we need to keep on trying.
Welcome to the Shipping Podcast, where I meet interesting maritime professionals sharing their passion for the shipping industry and their everyday job. I am your host. My name is Lena Gothberg. Hello, Shipping Podcast lovers. Welcome to the 136th episode of the Shipping Podcast. How are you? I am fine, and I hope that you are too, wherever you are. It's a strange time that we are going through. Nothing stays the same. We are looking to a new reality, all of us. So many things are changing. One of the things that have changed is that I have had to learn how to conduct interviews online, and this episode is no different. I have taken the opportunity to interview someone on the other side of the globe, practicing physical distancing. I have made an interview with Sakura Kuma, Executive Director of YKIP, that is the Yokohama-Kawasaki International Port Corporation in Japan. I hope you find the interview interesting and that the sound quality meets your requirements of a professional podcast, even though the interview was made remote. Welcome to the Shipping Podcast. Could you please introduce yourself?
Oh, sure. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me. My name is Sakura Kuma. I'm the Executive Director of Yokohama-Kawasaki International Port Corporation. But my real employer is NYK, the biggest shipping company in Japan. So NYK seconded me to YKIP, the YKIP where I work right now, 3 years ago. And that's the story began.
What is your background? What is your education?
I have 2 degrees. One is for philosophy. Maybe I don't look like a philosophy person, but I do really like to think about things. And the other one is MBA in Tokyo Metropolitan University. After that, I had another occupation before I joined NYK. But it didn't took me long to, change the employer to join NYK. And ever since, I have been work for NYK 20 years. Yep. Oh, that's a long time. Just snap of a finger.
Yes, it is. So what have you been doing then during all these 20 years?
From the very beginning, I was part of the container business. And because I started at the very junior position. So for the first 1 year or 2, I was keeping the contracts of the agency contracts all over the world. And for that period of time, you read a lot of the contracts and the basic knowledge about our industry all from those learning period. And then, along this 20 years, I should say 13 years or so was on the container terminal business side. Among them, 8 years, I was in charge of the M&A. Basically, when the economy was quite good before 2008, we had a lot of money to invest. So I was in charge of many overseas container terminal investment projects, which I really nerd a lot from those projects because, you know me, my characters, I love talking to people and I love interact and learn from people. And for those projects, because there's no routine, there's no textbook, you have to go for each and every project. You have to go to deal with different country, different culture, and even different policies, totally different people. And I thought, okay, that's quite suitable for me because I love different cultures and I love differences between people. We are basically the same, but maybe it doesn't look like the same. And we don't need to look like the same. And we have different opinions, different thoughts, and we represent different interests. And I think that's quite okay. But we can find a way to work together. If there's a win-win and we can produce that, then the project is done. And we can get some fruits from it. And the most of the fruits that I have all through the years is friendship. Because I think that's the long-lasting thing. If you want to do a business, if you want to in an industry, the best thing is make a lot of friends. And that's even more important than to make money. Because profit, sometimes, you can get a profit, but sometimes you don't. For example, right now, under the outbreak of coronavirus, I mean, it's a big challenge for all of us, for the industry as a whole, right? And you can analyze the challenges, the difficulties from different angles. But that's not the point. Hard time is here. You cannot escape. All we have to do is to stand still and be strong and to overcome it in the long term, maybe not in the short term. But the meaningful thing is if you look at the friendship, it's just like what you can get from the crisis. You can get something from it. Especially profit is temporary, but friendship lasts longer. The same thing is to the lessons that we learn from the challenges. Now we have the inconvenience, the difficulties that we have will just only have us become a stronger person or becoming a better industry.
So many wise words. I totally agree with you.
Thank you so much.
I also appreciate friendship a lot. And I think that is something that you have to start early to build your network. And when you're young, you should try and get to know more people and listen to what they have to say. Yeah. And then you learn a lot.
Exactly.
So what about your current job then? You are the executive director of this big port. How big is the port?
Well, the port is second largest by volume in Japan. And this is a very unique company. So Yokohama-Kawasaki, basically there are two ports adjacent to each other. But in 2016, the central government of Japan decided to merge the two ports into one. And the reason why is because, as you know, for last several decades, when the emerging economy like China grow rapidly, the international competitiveness of Japanese port has been compromised for a long time, and we suffered in terms of volumes. So the government decided to do the focus and select and focus. So basically, Japan is a country full of islands. So we do have a lot of ports. But if we just spread your competitiveness to those many ports of the R, meaning each and every one of the ports going to be weak. So in order to enhance the international competitiveness, the central government decided to choose two ports. One is Yokohama and Kawasaki combined as one. And the other one is Kobe and Osaka combined as one. So we have two. We called it International Strategic Ports in Japan. And I was seconded to YKIP 1 year after the establishment of this company. Before that, I was in Los Angeles, another container terminal, but it's not port. We interact with POLA, Port Authority of Los Angeles, quite a lot because they are landlord. And then from 2016, I came back to Japan, to Yokohama, convert myself from a terminal operator to the landlord side. So this is another thing I really enjoy the career in NYK is because we know shipping is a huge community. And NYK is big enough to have me experienced so many different angles of the industry, especially even at the port side. We originally, as a user, because we're shipping lines, we're a user of the ports. And then I went to do the investment of the container port. And then I do the operation, management side. And then right now I'm more like the authority side, see things from different angles, which is very interesting, because if you were just from one position to see the things, it's only I, right? But then now you start to see things from so many different angles. So instead of now I get used to have these perspectives, multiple perspectives from different angles. It's not always I, maybe he or she or you. So when you have different angles to see things, and things get more interesting. This is how I put it. And what do I do in my position? Well, it's really comprehensive, maybe I should say, because I'm the head of marketing and sales. So that's my very essential role. The subject of my marketing and sales has multiple layers. And let's see, the stakeholders. We have so many layers of stakeholders. First of all, the shipping lines. They are the customers. They are the tenants. And they also contribute to the volumes go through our port. Also, we have shareholders. We have the government as shareholders. Basically, they are the policymaker, but we do the things in detail level. So there's a lot of coordination with our shareholder side. Each and everything we want to do, we need to justify, and we need to persuade them, because we know the things really going on in the operational level, but they don't necessarily know, but they need to know in order to make a really good policy. So we're part of that as well. And then keeping a good relationship with our tenants is not just, say yes to every request they ask, right? So it's very in detail level that you have to keep a very keen and close communication with your stakeholders. And the other side of my job is to do the new projects. 2 layers for the new projects. One is for the new development of the port itself, because the time is changing. For example, now we're seeing like the decarbonizations and utilize the IT, new technology to transform the very traditional or conservative industry into to the next level. So that should be included into the consideration when we do the redevelopment plan of the port. So we're doing that. On top of that, basically making plan and do the execution of the development plan is not the only part of YKIP's role. We're also challenging the new business segmentation. For example, YKIP is one of 3 shareholders. We invested our own money to build this LNG bunkering vessel, which will become the first ship-to-ship bunkering vessel in Japan. And we made this decision to end of 2018. And the joint venture is there. I myself is also a director of that joint venture. And we now have the vessel built. Because of the coronavirus, the procedure get quite interrupted. But like I said, this is a difficulty, all the industry is facing. So we don't see. It will come in place, and I'm very excited. And in order to start this new challenge, of course, now you have the vessel, you have the service might be ready at some point. then you need customers, right? Then you need to do the marketing and the sales again. So I come back to my main role. So basically, that's all I do.
So what are the biggest changes that you have seen during your time in the maritime industry?
Well, a lot of change, I should say. When I started, you and I were women. So I would say something, especially on the empowerment of women's side, because when I joined the industry, well, some close friends of mine said, "Oh, it's not your industry. You're too strong for that industry. Look at it. Look around you. All the gray suits, man, and they're powerful, but there's no women in the higher rankings. So this is a glass ceiling is very obvious industry. It's not for you," people said to me. But then I told myself, what is for me then? And look at those industries. Maybe some fancy industry you want to be. The situation is more or less the same, right? So I told myself, if there's no perfect industry for me, why don't I just try this one? Because basically this one gave me a lot of opportunity to, like I said, meet new people, interesting people, and get in touch with different cultures, which I find it very interesting. So I said, okay, I would like to give myself a try. And I didn't really, aim for a higher position. Positions or such kind of things never be my goal. So it wasn't a big deal for me. But still, 20 years ago, you see all your managers, the people that you report to were men. And the older generation, the women in your organization didn't have chances to experience more reasonable roles because they weren't given. This marriage just the same thing. And I have admiration to many of my senior female colleagues. They were such nice person, but they just weren't given the chance because of the generation. But I was lucky because I was given the chance. And it's still a huge pity to me. For example, even we look at NYK, you look at the board, there's only one woman there. And she is not taking a very serious role in that board. She's chosen to be the board because big company as NYK, they have to do something, follow the policy and do something looks quite suitable for the CSR point of view. But there is no perfection. 20 years ago, when I joined NYK, there was 0 women in the board. But now we do have 1. But maybe 2 years from now, maybe we have 2, or maybe we have 3. Maybe by time of that, women are given bigger role in the board. Maybe someday the next president will be a woman. Who knows, right? So this is the biggest change. 0. From 0. That's the break of 0. Biggest change.
I totally agree with you. And I think that the last 3 years, so much has happened. And I think that the IMO theme for 2019 with empowering women in the maritime industry has meant a lot for the women working in our industry, which is very good because it's just stupid not to see that you need a diverse work team, no matter if it's on the floor or if it's in the boardroom. You need the diversity because you need different insights and different views. And what you were talking about before, if you only see I, and not you or he or she, then nothing happens. Then you stand still.
Yeah, exactly. And if you look at a bigger ground, not just to focus on one single company, for example, even a country like Japan, which in terms of the equality, the gender equality, we're kind of behind. But even for a country like Japan, we have the governors. For example, the Tokyo metropolitan governor is a she. And during this pandemic, her performance is so much better than our prime minister, who's a man. And we also have the city mayor of Yokohama, who's a very nice lady. And she has been her position for almost 10 years, I guess. And it was a she. And she used to be a senior management of Nissan a long time ago. And yeah, we see a lot of, hopes.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yep. So we can just see the changes rolling in, I think. So how do you see the future for the shipping industry or the maritime industry in general? How do you see it moving forward beyond the crisis, I think?
Right. The crisis, lately, like it or not, people are paying so much attention to the crisis, including myself. Some people say, okay, this crisis will change our lifestyle, our industry, our economy, our politics dramatically. I partially not agree. I mean, the crisis alone won't make any dramatic change, crisis alone. But combining the crisis with other factors, the dramatic change may happen. That's my point of view. So, well, if you look at Spanish flu in 1918, it took 2 years, 2 and more years to come back to so-called normal. But then the Second World War come, right? There's a lot of factors. So for our industries, this is a long-lasting industry. It won't disappear. It will move on. Good or bad, it will move on. But there's a lot of pain. There's a lot of pain in the middle term, short term. A lot of problems. There is no a single solution, unfortunately. People might want quick solutions, but there's no quick solutions. Like I said, we have to really be patient. And sometimes patience is the best remedy for many things. And in the long run, this industry will grow strong. But like the history, because our industry always have this supply and demand balancing and unbalancing the situation come and go. It's just like a wave. You have the bottom, you have the top summit, and then you go to the bottom again, and you climbing up. And I think the circle won't change. It has to go that way. But what we really can do is, along the time, there's a lot of new technologies that we can absorb in our industry, and we can, not only the technology-wise, but also not only empowerment of women, but also so many, minor, people were not in a significant role, didn't play a significant role in this industry, but it will be more flat. It will be more equal, the industry. So is our society. I think we put the strength together, we can make it better. And becoming better is the only future for our industry. It won't be worse. It can be worse.
But we have always been called, the Cinderella industry. No one knows about us. Do you think that will change now with the crisis? Will we become more visible now?
I do not know why people see we're invisible. We actually, what's the subject? Invisible to whom? If to consumer, yes, we're not, because we don't have a flag, we don't have a shop, we don't advertise us on the televisions. But do we really need to do that? Do we really need to be visible at that level? I think we're visible enough. We have IMO. We have a big voice in the international political world. And we have so many industrial associations. We have gathering annually. Not now, before and well after. And for example, even you and me, if we're invisible industry, then there's no reason for us to meet in where was the first time? In Norway? Or where did we meet?
IMO, I think. I don't know.
Yes, well, IMO. IMO was the first time 2 or 3 years ago. Right, so see, we're visible to each other within the industry.
Yeah, but I was thinking more about like we need to recruit the best brains there is out there, the next generation. We need to recruit them. And how will they know about us if we are not promoting ourselves outside our own industry and our own ranks? So we need to be visible to the next generation. And I also think we need to be more visible to the politicians, because it's the politicians who sends the representatives to IMO. And they need to know that they are sending the right people there, more or less. But, so that is my soapbox when it comes to visibility. There are in some places we need to be visible and to show how cool this industry is to other people.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So in that sense, maybe we need some superstars. But we do have a lot of superstars. The only thing is we need to advertise them. In that terms, I think you're doing a great job by, for example, doing this shipping podcast and using the media.
Thank you. That was not...
Yeah, that's a great job. But yeah, you can produce some superstars. Including yourself. Yeah, you're a superstar.
Thank you. I have one superstar I'm talking to now.
Thank you so much.
And I'm trying to actually show the people who are in the industry and who are not the CEOs or in the C-level only.
Exactly.
Because then you don't see many women.
That's true.
And now I think I have 49% of my guests are female. And that is also to show that there are women in this industry who's doing a great job and who are the superstars. It's just the rest of the world has to see them.
Exactly.
And there are also, I think it's interesting because this morning I got a notification on Instagram from Alice Sedino. She's the founder of Women Offshore, and that is also a podcast. It's so interesting that it's the women who are taking on this new media in the way it should be, because I'm trying to produce this podcast like every other podcast. I'm learning from the superstars in the podcasting industry. So I'm really trying to be competitive to other podcasts out there and not just, recording something where I can speak a lot, which I think is an approach from other podcasters in the maritime industry. So it's interesting that we are trying to reach the younger generation and hang out where they are hanging out, because it's not a lot of young people that are listening to radio or reading common newspapers anymore. Right, they are learning from online tools, and podcast is a big thing for them.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree. So I guess, I'm not saying this to make you happy. What you're doing right now is really meaningful, and it might look like a small step, but you will becoming a giant leap. I mean, just keep on doing so. Like somebody, maybe he or she didn't know about the podcast, but by accident or by somebody's introduction, he or she had this access and he found the contents interesting, and then, that will be an influence.
I get so many emails or shout outs or messages from young people saying that Wow, I didn't know that there is an entire maritime world out there. If I just finish my studies or they are doing a job they don't really like, but they realize that there are so many career paths in this industry that they could change to.
Exactly. So this is a two-direction effort, I should say. When you have this curiosity, when you want to reach out to some part of the information or knowledge, and for the younger generation, they go online, right? So they Google, they go on YouTube, they check everything. If we have this presence on those media, then there's a chance they can reach out to us. So that's one direction. The other direction is we always have to let us heard. We always have to raise our voices. Maybe sometime people will think annoying, but even though I'm sorry, but I still have to keep going on because maybe somebody will find this interesting and valuable. For those people, we need to keep on trying, right? So this two-direction efforts. I mean, taking myself as an example, I didn't really had this connection with IMO before I work for YKIP, because YKIP more, governmental backgrounded. Even with 17 years with NYK, part of the division of NYK also had interaction with IMO, of course, but I wasn't that part. So for the 17 years, I had nothing to do with IMO. But of course, I was aware of IMO's existence because it's too big. But I didn't go to the IMO headquarters because I wasn't invited. And but I have been in this industry for so long, and I have this curiosity. So finally, the chance came in 3 years ago, and that's the time we met, I guess. They asked me to be on the panel and to do a presentation about Yokohama, which I did. And then from that point, I met you. You and I became friends, and I met some other friends. And, the interesting things is after that, I get invited to IMO several times. And then last year, when I was doing a port presentation about women as well, and the director of YIMLI, International Maritime Law Institute, Professor David Todd, he was in the audience, and we exchanged our name cards, and that is all. And then suddenly, end of last year, he sent me an email, asked me, do you want to come and give a lecture to our students? So this is a connection, one connection connected to another. If I won't in IMO, I won't meet you, I won't meet him. I won't be here today. I won't be invited by Professor David Todd. And then he did, and I took the offer. So beginning of this February, I went to Malta. And I did this lecture to so many curious people from all over the world. And there was a great, experience to me. Comparing to the value that I brought to those students, I think the experience with Emily was priceless to me because they were so curious. I gave them all I had, and they keep asking me questions. I love questions because questions make me clear my mind, make me double think what I'm going to say. And they liked it. They liked it. I can feel that because my lecture, exceeded the time. They gave me a time frame, but even after that, people still ask questions. I mean, I guess, for that point of time, at least people in that floor get this access, had this interaction with me. I guess I delivered a message successfully, and it's like a torch. I passed it on. So next time, maybe they pass it on to some other people. So this is our two direction, efforts. Just keep doing.
So who do you think we should pass on the torch to now? Who do you think I should interview the next? Who would you be interested in listening to?
I don't know who else you have already interviewed, but if you haven't yet, how about, which is also a friend of mine, Gay Platten, ICS?
I haven't had him yet, but yeah, I will be pleased to. I have met him. We met him together, I think.
Yeah, because right now I think he's a very critical time for him in his position. We already know that the industry has a lot of difficulties, and the most related to human is the seafarers. And we now know a lot of seafarers facing a lot of difficulties. Even many of them are Filipinos, and the Philippines is closing their airports so that their seafarers cannot go back home. And I think Guy Platten is raising his voice to try to speak for those people. And according to him,
I think maybe I will save him for after the crisis, and then he can tell about his experiences all over the place.
Sure. After this, we should all meet together with a glass of wine.
Yes. And then we should exchange experiences and see what we can learn for the future.
Yeah. I think this is a very good period of time that since we're working from home and we keep the social distancing, basically for me, I don't watch TV because it's too nonsense. I'm trying to find more time to read and to read something not relevant to my profession, but to the things I wanted to know, but I didn't have a chance to know, so that I can improve myself. I think everybody can get something out of this crisis.
What do you recommend? What are you reading? What can you recommend to the listeners? What topics are you interested in?
Okay, so this is right in front of me. This book named Upheaval, written by Gerard Diamond. It says it's a New York Times bestsellers. It's talking about the turning points of nations in crisis. How to deal with crisis. There's many crises, personal crisis, national crisis. But fundamentally, the way of dealing those crises might have something in common. So the author is trying to give us the common ground of how to deal with crisis. And in his book, he raised some different national crises. One is to analyze the Finland's war with Soviet Union. Finland, you have no other choices because Soviet Union, Russia is your forever neighbor you have to deal with. And the second one, which is described in the cover painting, is Japan. The author was trying to figure out in the Meiji era how Japan accomplished the modernization from a village, from a basically agricultural country to a industrialized country. And the third country, the crisis, national crisis he chose was Chile, and then Indonesia, and even Germany. And the First War and the Second World War. And then Australia, how do they find their own identification from immigrants nations from United Kingdom to a very independent, not only political status, but also the mental status. How did they become Australian, not just immigrants from United Kingdom? And then after that, he will talk about the United States. I haven't go that far yet. It's quite interesting. It's a third book.
Yeah, very timely. So I will put a link in the show notes so people can find it if they want to.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Sakura. Thank you for taking the time to speak to me. It was wonderful. And best of luck, and I hope to see you over that glass of wine very soon. Thank you, Sakura. I can now reveal how this interview was made. We used WhatsApp to see each other in a video chat, while Sakura was recording her end on her mobile and I was recording my voice on my recorder. And then the two files were edited together. The magic when you use a professional editor. And here is a shout out to Jen Eads, head broad in charge at the Brassy Broadcasting Company in Indianapolis, in the United States. She is the editor of the Shipping Podcast. Talk about global collaboration to deliver to a global audience. This was all for now. So, until the next time, from me to you, over and out. Thank you for listening to the Shipping Podcast. Don't forget to tell everyone that you meet that there is a shipping podcast available and that they should download it and listen to the maritime professionals who are sharing their passion for the shipping industry.